This is a build video of an old Monogram F4 Phantom fighter kit.
Obviously, I've had this kit in my stash for a long time. It says it's a 1/72nd F4J. It's basic monogram. It says 1985 right there, but it may well be a re-release of the kit. Let's open it up. One giant bag. Clear parts, decals, and instructions. The instructions are also copyright 1985, and they fold out in so that, you know, there's a large number of steps from step 1 to step 26, from step 27 to step 37.
We'll start building by the numbers. We assemble the cockpit tub for steps 1, 2, and 3, and we then install it in the right half of the fuselage. I added some weight to the nose just to make sure it's not a tail setter. We then put the two halves of the fuselage together. We then assemble the wings. Installing the wing assembly and bottom fuselage to the top fuselage was difficult, but I got it together. We then install the horizontal tail surfaces. The two tabs do not set the dihedral, so I did it by eye. I hope I was close. We start on the engine inlet area.
Everything seemed to be going well until I got to step 10 here, which is install one of the inlet ducts. And of course, the other inlet duct gets installed in step 12. Neither one of them fit very well at all. I hadn't noted any other problems before. I had to fit the ducts by trimming them to fit around the leading edge of the wing, and one of them was too short in height and the other was too tall. So I assume that in prior assemblies I didn't get something completely seated. It's either my bad assembly or the parts are a little bit warped. I noticed that one of the tail surfaces is clearly warped. I tried to bend it straight with using heat from hot water. Anyway, my approach to fixing this problem was the typical one. I used a lot of filler putty to try and straighten out the discontinuities. I painted over it to show more clearly how well I'd done, and so far it's
not too good.
It sure could be better, but I think I've gone about as far as I can go with this approach. Looking at the plans, step 13 on are pretty much assembling little details that would be installed possibly after painting. At least in my case, I will paint the fuselage and then add the details.
After painting, we'll start installing the small details. Here's the aircraft painted with the landing gear and wheels installed. The landing gear, doors, and the exhaust ducts have been installed. Most of the instructions on the second page relate to the ordnance and fuel tanks the F4 can carry. Most of the models in my Navy fighter collection are depicted as fighter planes ready for aerial combat. This load of ordnance that the Phantom could carry as a fighter bomber, plus the fuel tanks to give it the range to be a fighter bomber, makes a very impressive sight. I'm conflicted as to whether to show it as a fighter plane or a fighter bomber fully armed. The point that must be considered is that the F4 was the first fighter to not be armed with a gun. So even if in the fighter configuration it has to be carrying missiles. I've painted all the ordnance and I've assembled the fuel tanks. I'll install the decals now to avoid having to do it with the ordnance on and possibility of damaging it. The decals and the external fuel tanks are installed. I installed the 4 Sparrow missiles but left off the pylons that held the bombs and the Sidewinder missiles. They were on a single pylon mounted together. I assume a Phantom armed for air combat would carry Sidewinder missiles, but on a less elaborate pylon. Here's the finished F4 Phantom, and here it is aligned with some of its Navy stablemates in chronological order of service. Thanks for watching.